Brothers and sisters, you know, I don't know how many of you were listening to the radio today. I don't know how many of you were listening to Observer today. You don't listen to Observer, you listen to Crusader. Just imagine, brothers and sisters. We rise up the red hands. We rise up the red hands. Can you imagine, brothers and sisters? We rise up the red hands. And why we rise up the red hands? The red hands come out to bite. They come out to bite. All because this government dedicate and had this soft opening of the National Public Library. All the red hands and them come out. Why you have soft opening? Why you can't have a hard opening? Instead of being happy, instead of celebrating the achievement of a national public library in this country, the red hands come out to bite. But the point of the matter is, for 30 of the 40 years that this country was without a national public library, the ALP had the people of this country languishing for intellectual and educational development. And so, yeah, that is it. That is it. You said the right thing. Antigua is not a reading public. Remember they say so. They say so. And so they don't want no national public library. They don't care about the movement forward of this country. Don't care about the movement forward of this country. And for 30 years, they're talking about political gimmicks. They're talking about political gimmicks. For 30 years, they neglected the National Public Library. And now that this government is committed to opening the National Public Library, them backs. But you know, it's just envy, you know. I had to laugh. It's just envy and jealousy. That is what it is. But this government will continue to move the people of Antigua and Barbuda forward. Will continue to empower the people of this country. And will continue to design projects and programs for the advancement of Antigua and Barbuda. Brothers and sisters, I have been following the discussions in Barbados about the introduction of tuition fees for Bajan students attending the Caville campus of the University of the West Indies. And what is happening in Barbados is instructive for us here in Antigua and Barbuda. And I want you to listen. The entire Bajan country is up in arms. Why are they up in arms? They're up in arms because the government is saying to Barbados population, you now have to pay tuition fees for tertiary education. And Professor Hilary Beckles, last week he is quoted as saying, fees will hit the poor, women, and the vulnerable the hardest. And it is a huge story in Barbados for the last couple of months. But they are now understanding what OECS students have to face. They are now understanding how expensive it is going to be for a tertiary education. Because the Barbados government is saying, no longer will we be subsidizing tertiary education. The point I want to make, brothers and sisters, education, and particularly tertiary education, is an expensive proposition. It is not a cheap endeavor. When you decide to send your children or you decide to go abroad to study, it is an expensive proposition. When this United Progressive Party government made a considered policy decision to invest in the nation's young people, our precious human resources, we understood that without scholarships, without investment in our young people, thousands of Antiguans and Barbudans, poor, unfortunate, vulnerable people, would not have the opportunity to empower themselves. The UPP understood that education, and particularly tertiary education, was an investment in the human resources of this country. That is why, when we took office, brothers and sisters, the Baldwin-Spencer administration went abroad. The Prime Minister, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, went scouring for scholarships all over the world. The Board of Education increased the number of scholarships because we wanted to invest in you, the human resources of this country. The policy which the Labour Party had of who you know you give scholarships to, rank nepotism and favoritism. And I'm going to say it again, rank nepotism and favoritism. Because when I was on the radio today, that a former Minister of Education, you know, they have trang for women, you know. They have trang for women. He find his voice. He call into the radio station. He don't even remember. He don't even remember who was the chairman of the Board of Education when he was the Minister of Education. He called in and said, Dr. Schober was the minister, the chairman of the Board of Education. And I served the minister for 2 years, and this is what we did. Dr. Schober was the chairman of the Board of Education from 2004. Don't bother me up. And it's only because I didn't want to embarrass him. It's only because I didn't want to embarrass him. Trying to defend yourself. But you know, if you serve as Minister of Education for only two years, as he say, why you squealing? The cap fits you. The pig that squealed the loudest, is not that one get hit? Come on, man. We know there's evidence that there was rank nepotism and favoritism in the Ministry of Education for who and who got scholarships. And plenty scholarships went a-begging, brothers and sisters. But Antigua and Barbuda is moving forward with the UPP. Let me hear you. And one of our major policy initiatives is that poor, ordinary people will be empowered in this country. And how we're going to do that? The Prime Minister spoke about it last night at the dedication ceremony. We are moving to establish the University of Antigua and Barbuda. And when you re-elect us in our third term, we are going to make sure that we put plans in place so that Antiguans and Barbudans can have access to a full degree granting institution. Let me hear it, brothers and sisters. What that is going to do is to provide opportunities for hundreds of Antiguans and Barbudans. Already we have passed the State College Act, and what that is doing is making sure that the State College becomes a semi-autonomous institution, raise its own funds. And we have set up the Antigua and Barbuda Development Committee, looking at financing, infrastructure, academic programs, and making sure that when we start this University of Antigua and Barbuda, that it is well accredited and well respected all around the world. Because Antiguans and Barbudans want to compete with the rest of the world. And they have been doing so, but more persons will have an opportunity. Brothers and sisters, the other area where our government has demonstrated leadership and vision is in our early childhood development sector. Again, the UPP, cognizant that a strong foundation had to be laid, we made sure that the early childhood sector was well monitored, and we began putting in place free public preschools. We started in Simon Bolivar so that persons in Johnson's, in Sutherland's, in Clear Hall communities would be able to have access to that facility, because the statistics show that children who have had that early childhood foundation do well at primary school, at secondary school, and at university. Brothers and sisters, we moved to Villa, we moved to Green Bay, and the early childhood development sector is looking at other schools where we can replicate this. And the Potters community has been identified as one of those areas that we will put that free public preschool. So Potters people, look out, look out. We're going to have a free public preschool there. You know, I was listening to the radio and I heard an ad on the radio, a young lady saying, things are so hard, you can't find any opportunities, any job opportunities. They don't want to work, you're right. And there are no programs in place to help poor people or unemployed people. And I'm saying, so what happened to the school uniform program? What happened to the school meals program? Those are programs, social welfare programs set up for poor, vulnerable people in this country. What happened to all the training programs that this government would have put in place? Hundreds of young people in the EACH program, in the LEAP program, in the GATE program. What happened to all those programs? But you know, they have a way of burying their head in the sand. They have a way of burying their head in the sand. And when they see these programs taking off, they get vexed. They get vexed. But who tell them not to let their government do them? Brothers and sisters, I want you to understand that this government is about leadership and about vision. Now we have in this constituency Brother Fillmore Benjamin, and I want to throw my support behind Brother Fillmore Benjamin, a professional who has decided that he wants to give higher service to this country. And when I look at his opponent, he's my friend, you know, Tico Lake. But I want to use a big word for him. Vacuous. You know what I mean? Empty. He brings nothing to the table. And his colleagues know that. He brings nothing to the table. He's a lightweight. Dr. Benjamin, put some legs on him. Let me hear it. And that's your word for tonight. Vacuous. Dr. Benjamin has brought a level of professionalism to this constituency, and I know he has a passion. And so tonight, I say to you, the people of this community, stand behind Dr. Fillmore Benjamin. Stand behind all the candidates of the UPP in this zone. Brother Mervyn Richards, Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer, Chester Hughes, and all the UPP candidates across this country. Because on election day, when you do so by so, and you mark your X, crop your X. Crop your X. Make sure that we get that third term. Make sure that you keep this country in safe hands so that Gossett Brown, that's a new name, Gossett Brown, so that Gossett Brown will not get his hands on the leadership of this country. Good night, brothers and sisters. I love you. I love you.